pressure these days on businesses to use green products, especially instead of plastic. One good example, disposable utensils that go right in the compost pile. Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, however, environmentalists say these knives, spoons, and forks just don't cut it, as Julie Watts of our San Francisco station, KPIX, reports.
Diners at this outdoor cafe like more than the food. They also like the cutlery.
I think it's great.
It's actually a nicer texture. Doesn't taste as plasticky.
Even better, the sign says it's compostable.
This is what happens after going through a 60 to 90-day composting process.
San Francisco Zero Waste Coordinator Jack Macy says these pieces of taterware, the same brand and kind used at the cafe, were fished out of a finished compost pile at this facility in Solano County.
They're basically intact.
And he says they're not the only green utensils not living up to consumer expectations.
It's very frustrating. Consumers are being duped. They're naturally confused. There's so much mislabeling.
Macy takes issue with the word biodegradable.
If it's labeled degradable or biodegradable, those words are really meaningless.
That's because environmentalists say everything is biodegradable, given enough time. Some call that kind of labeling greenwashing.
You're making your product look green when it really is not green.
The consumer believes that there's an environmental benefit associated with that product. That's why they label it that way.
And Scott Smithline of Californians Against Waste says even many utensils certified as compostable by third-party testing aren't breaking down under commercial composting conditions.
I'm not really aware of any composter that wants compostable utensils.
One reason,
they need to have a certain thickness for function, but that same thickness then acts as a barrier to microbial degradation.
Another reason, a disconnect between certification standards and reality. Utensils are certified compostable if tests show they break down within 180 days at a commercial composting operation, but the average commercial composting cycle is less than half that. A study last year in San Diego found none of the 27 certified compostable utensils put through a normal 60-day composting cycle showed any sign of degradation. So why the discrepancy? Smithline says it's about money.
A composter's goal is to make good quality compost as quickly as they can. That's how they make money.
Now, composters say utensils account for just about 1% of all food scrap recycling, not enough to warrant changing the system. But what happens to all those utensils that get sent to commercial composters? Smithline contends most get screened out at the very beginning of the process and end up going to landfills. Just the fate these diners were hoping to avoid.
Now, Taterware says its utensils labeled biodegradable will break down in a landfill by 30% over 3 months. Meanwhile, many are now calling for new, more realistic industry standards for compostable utensils. Julie Watts, CBS News, San Francisco.
Always wondered.
Yep.
Interesting